Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to HHS online classes. I hope all of you are safe and sound during this pandemic. We are here with another recorded session of Grade 8 History. Today we are going to study how to attempt a pictorial source. Remember students that when I explained you the pattern of CI Pakistan Studies history paper, I explained you that in section A, we have a 5 marks question in which we have to explain the given picture source. You are expected to observe the picture and then you have to infer and explain those observations in a paragraph form. So let's study the techniques through which you can easily explain any picture source at hand. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to discuss various ways to attempt a pictorial source question. Now first we will study identification of the pictorial source. There are certain questions that you should always ask yourself while attempting the pictorial source, as these questions help you make valuable judgments about the source. The questions are: who created it? When is it created? What is it portraying? Where is it published? Who would have seen this image? It is important to identify the cartoonist, newspaper or publication in which that picture was published, and most importantly, the expected audience of that picture source. A foreign author, like a British source, will always depict a different prospect of a certain political event, unlike an Indian or Asian who might have a completely different stance regarding that particular incident. Here, it is imperative to understand the important points which should be considered while analyzing a picture source. Remember, the picture source is supposed to be analyzed. Mere description of the event is not required. It is important to deeply observe the picture, but it is not necessary to describe the minute details, and sometimes the author's name can also be anonymous. Try to gather as much information as you can from the source in your mind. Finally, write inferences about the picture source based on your knowledge. Now let's discuss 5 elements which a cartoonist may use to convey their point of view. Symbolism, using an object to stand for an idea. Exaggeration, overstating or magnifying a problem or a physical feature or habit. Big nose, bushy eyebrows, large ears, and baldness. Captioning and labels are used for clarity and emphasis. Analogy is a comparison between two unlike things that share some characteristics. Irony, the difference between the way things are and the way things should be, or the way things are expected to be. While attempting the picture source, take a few minutes and observe the source. While observing the picture source, you should ask another set of questions from yourself. What is the issue discussed in this political cartoon? What is the cartoonist's opinion on this issue? How do you think other people would perceive this source? Did you find this political cartoon persuasive, convincing? Why or why not? There are certain symbols that are used in political cartoons, like victims, oppressed will appear smaller than aggressors, military action, sword, weapons, friendship, peace or youth, flowers. Finally, you should follow the following steps to analyze the picture source. Identify the characters, symbols, and objects in the political cartoon. Look for clues and details that are shown in the picture source. Identify the main idea of the political cartoon by reading the captions. What is the meaning of the captions used in the picture source? Identify any bias the cartoonist might have. Finally, it is important to note the origin of the picture source to identify any partiality used by the cartoonist. There are two types of picture source that comes in your paper. One is a real picture and second is the political cartoon. In reference to what has been explained to you up till now in this video, let us look at some of the examples. The first example that we will observe today is a political cartoon with the caption "Massacre in the Boats of Kanpur." If we closely read the source of the political cartoon, this picture source is taken from New York Public Library. Now, if we closely observe the picture, we can see that a river bank is shown in the picture. On the right side, we can also see women and a small child carried by one woman. One man is killing the women in the boat. We can also observe the people on horseback are also ruthlessly killing women and men in the river. Now, if we relate this political cartoon to the incident of Kanpur massacre, which we have already studied, at Kanpur, the troops got rebellious and killed their British officers. They were led by Nana Sahib, who had personal grievance against the British for stopping a large pension he had been receiving. A British force managed to hold on to a defensive position for 3 weeks. Eventually, having been given a promise of safe passage out of the area, the British surrendered. But tragically, Nana Sahib opened fire on the barges, taking them down the river. Almost every soldier was killed together with 300 women and children. In retaliation, the British also killed the people of Kanpur, but they could not arrest Nana Sahib. Now, the final explanation which we will provide in our answers will be like, this source tells us the cruelty of troops of Nana Sahib in the Battle of Kanpur. I can see in the picture that his troops have killed innocent women and children who were trying to escape in boats. His people are killing the women in the boats and even killed those who jumped in the river. A clear manifestation of Nana Sahib's wrath. Now let us see another example, which is a real photograph. This photograph was taken when Bahadur Shah Zafar was put on trial as he was held responsible for the uprising of 1857. In this picture, we can see Bahadur Shah Zafar sitting. Two of his sons, Mirza Shah Abbas and Mirza Khizr Sultan, are standing behind him. Also, a British official is standing beside him. As we have also studied in the War of Independence chapter, that Bahadur Shah Zafar was accused of the revolt of 1857, and his two sons were executed by the British government. The final explanation which we will provide in our answers will be like, this source tells us the weak authority of Bahadur Shah Zafar in 1857. I can tell this because in picture, Bahadur Shah Zafar is looking old, weak and helpless. His two sons who are standing behind him are also looking powerless. Whereas we can see that the British official in this picture is standing upright and has authoritative disposition. The British had put the last Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar on public trial to show that the Mughal rule in the subcontinent has ended and the only ruling power was the British government. The last source which we will discuss is another political cartoon related to the War of Independence 1857. Here we can clearly see a caption, "The New Year's Gift." A statement is also written saying, "Pam to Sir Colin. Well, upon my word, A, I am really extremely obliged to you. But A, how about keeping the brute?" Also, we can see that a tiger is labeled as India. Another important thing mentioned in the source is that this source is published on 2nd January 1858 in Punch or the London Charivari. Now refer to the details of the War of Independence 1857 and how the British government tackled the uprising. So the final explanation which we will provide in our answers will be like, this source tells us the conversation of two British officials, Pam and Sir Colin. From this picture, we can see a tiger, which is India, is captured by Pam and is presented to Sir Colin as the New Year's gift. The tiger, which is India, is chained and its facial expression is showing that it was wild beast and was also out of control earlier. After the revolt of 1857, subcontinent was again controlled by the British government. This also tells about the British stance on the wars of independence, which they later referred as Sepoy Mutiny. I hope that you have learned important techniques to solve the pictorial source. An assignment has been uploaded on the Google Classroom related to today's lesson. Do the assignment and submit by clicking Turn In or Mark as done. Thank you for watching the lecture. Allah Hafiz. Stay home and stay safe.